So what's this then? Well, this is the Volvo C40 Recharge twin motor. It's a sporty SUV, 100% electric, and it's one of the best sellers in its segment. And in this video, I'm going to show you why. So this is the Volvo C40 Recharge twin motor, and twin motor because it's got a motor in the front and a motor in the back. That gives us a total of 408 horsepower, and it accelerates with those from 0 to 100 in just 4.7 seconds. It's got a large battery, 82 kilowatt hours, with which it can supposedly do 549 kilometers according to the WLTP cycle. There are different versions of the Volvo C40. They start around 50,000 euros, and this one with the extras and the configuration you see right here is around 60,000 euros. The Volvo can charge at up to 205 kilowatts in a fast charger. But you know what? All these numbers and stuff, we're going to test it because this is the Electro Exam. And the Electro Exam is our own proprietary format where we test 8 different categories that are important for the EV buyer. And then we add them all up, taking into account the weight of each category, and we get a final score. The final score you can then compare with other vehicles that's gone through the Electro Exam using our website, link in the description below. Well, let's just talk about the name for this car, the C40 Recharge. You might know it as the EC40 because Volvo right now are changing the nomenclature for their cars. So instead of calling them the C something or the XC something, when they are fully electric, it's called the EC or the EX for their crossover models. But it is still basically the same car. I know there are some software updates and some minor tweaks, but this car, if you're going to go get the EC40, will be pretty much the same. So now let's go check out the C40 Recharge because it is totally electric. So the car's actually a lot smaller than what you'd first imagine. It's only 4 meters 44 long, which I think is a fantastic size. It'll fit in a garage easily, and still it's large enough to have a lot of room inside the car. It is quite wide though, 1.87 meters. So when you're parking, careful with those rear view mirrors. Don't want to ding them. It is also 1.60 meters tall, but with this sloping roofline, it should have relatively good aerodynamics. We'll see what that does for the range later on in this video. Exterior rear view mirrors are large and give me good visibility. Door handles are regular door handles. It just feels and looks like a regular normal car. We've got 20-inch rims, which are a good size. They're actually covered up quite a lot because as this is an electric car with a lot of good regenerative braking, we don't need all that too much cooling of brakes on the inside. So we can gain a little bit of extra advantage improving the aerodynamics down there. And this particular black color, it looks really nice. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it's not just a regular dark or metallic black. It actually got sort of a pearl effect to it, which is really nice on a nice sunny day like today. The roofline in the back is quite sporty, goes down there, and it's got a big spoiler coming out of it here. We've got the rear lights doing sort of a funny thing up there, typical for the Volvo brand. And the third brake light is actually down there as opposed to somewhere up here. We've got these two aerodynamic elements there. There's no air outlet there, it's just plastic covers, but they do give it a nice sporty look to it. Of course, it's a 5-door, so if I open this, which I can do by just kicking under it, you'll see wide access to the interior. Sorry about the car being dirty. You know how it is, you drive it around, dirt gets on it, and this black color, you can see dust on it instantly. In the front, it looks very much like a standard Volvo, and that's a good thing. You might even find elements you can also see on the Polestar cars. For example, you got the same Thor's Hammers headlights down there. You have a little bit of air intake at the bottom. You got a camera here at the bottom of the logo, which helps us with the 360 view of the car. You got some additional sensors on top there for the ADAS system. But other than that, pretty much standard Volvo all around. The key is just a very standard Volvo key with 3 buttons on it, one for opening, one for closing, and one for the boot. There's nothing particularly interesting about that bit. What I do find a little bit annoying though is that in order to open it, well, I stick my hand in it, it detects it. In order to close it, I have to push a little button here. But I can't just, open the car and get out of it and walk away and expect it to lock. I do have to either push a button here on the remote or push a button on the door. Yeah, I know, first world problem, right? So I think the exterior actually looks really good. It's a standard Volvo, not a suspicious looking weird mobile that is electric and tree hugging. It just looks like a solid, good old Volvo, and that's a good thing. But now, let's see how far you can go on this 82 kilowatt hour battery. Let's do the range test. So we're doing the range test in the Volvo C40 recharge twin motor. Officially, we're supposed to be doing 549 kilometers according to the WLTP cycle, but do take into account that's a cycle. We're doing highway driving. More about that later. It's brilliant weather outside. It's hot, sunny. Yeah, let's get going. I'm going to reset the trip computer. We've got 96% battery. We're going to go this way, over there on the highway until we're below 60% battery. Then we're going to turn around and come back here. Let's do it. I just want to go through quickly and explain how and why I do these long-range tests. The way I do it is I put the car at 120 kilometers according to a high-precision GPS. I don't trust the cars. Some cars put 120 when it's actually 118, or I have to go all the way up to 125 in order to do the real speed of 120 kilometers per hour. So I trust only my GPS system, which is a Draggy. So that's what I use. In this car, I have to go at 122. So I set the cruise control to 122, and I'm just going this way for half the battery, and then I'm turning around and going back. Today's a nice day. It's sunny outside. It's 16 degrees, and the temperature will probably go up during the day. Well, 16 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'll put it on screen here. Do take into account that this car has an official range of 549 kilometers WLTP. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to get even close to that, because the WLTP standard indicates how far you can go in a mixed driving cycle. So that would be some city driving, some highway driving, but also some slower driving on secondary roads. If you do that, you'll get much more range than if you're doing like I do today, just high speed at highway here. Speed. I'm doing 120 kilometers an hour. That's 75 miles per hour. I know that in the comments there's going to be people saying that they get much more range out of whatever car I'm testing. That's because you're typically driving either slower or looking at a mixed consumption. What I'm doing is I'm testing how good this car is for traveling. Because when you're driving in cities or when you're driving from your home to work, you don't really care that much about how much range you're going to get out of the car, because you can always find a charger. When you really, really care about range is right now when you're doing a road trip. So that's what we're doing, and I'm trying to stay consistently at 120. And some people say that they get more even at consistent high speed. But I dare you to look at your average speed, and it's probably going to be quite difficult to get close to 120. Typically, the tests I do end up being around 115, 112 kilometers an hour, which is as good as it gets if you're doing 120. But many people will say they do 120, but they're actually oscillating between maybe 90 and 130, and the average speed they end up doing might be closer to 100 than actually 120. So those are the discrepancies we typically get while doing range tests. I also have air condition on and climate and all these things. I do not want to get rid of any of these convenience features in a car when I do highway tests. I don't, because if you're sitting in a nice high-end-ish Volvo like this one, you do not want to sit here and neither sweat or be cold. So when I do the test in other cars, I use the most economic driving mode that the car has that does not remove any convenience features. In this car, it's much easier. There's only one driving mode. It's the first time I ever see a car that's electric and there's only got one driving mode. There's no relax or eco or anything. It's just driving. All I can change is one pedal driving so that it comes to a full stop when it slows down. That's it. Nothing else. I kind of like it actually. Okay, so taking into account those parameters for this test, I mean, there will be traffic, like right now where I have to slow down for it. I can't just run across traffic and drive recklessly. So we'll see what the end speed will be, but probably around 112, 115 or something like that. So put a comment down below. Out of the 549 kilometers of official WLTP range, how much range am I going to get out of it in this test? So this car has probably one of the absolute best navigation systems that'll help me traveling and long distance, because let me just show you how good it is. Okay, Google, navega hasta Helsinki.
Navegando a Helsinki.
So it's going to put a route for Helsinki in Finland, and I'm in sunny Spain right now, so that is pretty darn far away. I'm probably not going to get there on 1 battery. I'm probably not going to get there on 10 batteries. So it's going to have to find charging stations on the way, and it's going to find charging stations all the way for a 2-day trip, 4,400 kilometers to Finland. It's going to tell me where to charge, how much energy I'm going to have at each individual charging stop, and how long time I need to stop there. Absolutely brilliant. Now, it's going to take a few seconds for it to do it, because this is an absolutely marvelously long route to go, and it's going to go through some places where there's not a lot of coverage, but here you go. It's got it. It's I got to stop for 9 charges, seems good, and then I'll get there. 9, that's not a lot. It's much more important than actually having 1 million miles of range is to be accurately able to predict how much range I'm going to have and how far I can actually go with the current state of the battery. This means that I can travel from here to the end of the world in a car with a small battery as long as it does it well. And this predicts really, really well. Good job. I mean, this Android Automotive is cracking. Okay, so I have literally exactly 50% battery left, and according to the GPS, if I turn around at the next exit, which is coming up in just 3 kilometers, I will get back to the charger with 8% on the battery. So far, I've been using 24.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which seems like a lot, but do take into account that the first part of this trip does go slightly uphill, so I expect it to improve when I go back. At least, I hope so, in order to make it back. We shall see. I do like to finish the test getting closer to 10%, because the lower percentage I end up with, the more accurate the actual test will be. Some cars are optimistic on the first percentages and pessimistic on the latest ones, so it's better to get as close to 0 as possible. This is where we turn around, just 1 kilometer, and head on back. As soon as I turned around, this changed. So instead of arriving with 8%, it now estimates that I'm going to arrive with, well, now it says 13%. So suddenly I have 5 additional percentage points that I can use, which is not great. I don't want that. I want to get there with less than 10%. So I guess I have to drive a little bit back and forth in case I get there with more than 10%. So first estimate was 8%, now it's 13. I guess we're going to get there with somewhere in between those 2 numbers. Let's see. This is my exit right there, and I'm going to miss it because I still have 12% left on the battery. I don't want to get to the charger with more than 10%, so I'm going to keep going straight for a while and then circle back just to get the battery below 10% to make sure we can get a quick charge and not just, an average charge. I am a little bit surprised that we had 12% because it did say 8% before we turned around, but then it changed to 13%. So at least it's within the range between 8 and 13%. I guess maybe the temperature has gone up. Right now it's 23 degrees Celsius outside, which is, let me ask the car. Okay, Google. 23 grados Celsius in Fahrenheit.
23 grados Celsius son lo mismo que 73,4 grados Fahrenheit.
Okay, so according to the car, in his nice Spanish accent, it's 73 degrees Fahrenheit outside, which might have been the cause of me having a little bit extra range. But anyway, I'll keep going. We had a really good test so far. Our average speed is 115 kilometers per hour, which is about 71 or 72 miles per hour, which is a good speed for this kind of test. All right, well, I'm going to circle back and come back to you when we're at the charger. Okay, we're done with the range test, and we did a total of 318.7 kilometers, but we left with only 96% battery, and I've still got 70% battery left. So there's 11% I did not spend. And if we add that, then we'll get to a total of 358 kilometers. That's the same as 222 miles. My average speed for this test was 114 kilometers per hour, which is the same as 71 miles per hour. If you think that you can get a lot more and you see people getting 500 kilometers, check their average speed, because it's usually just people driving slower or comparing highway results, which is what we do here, with a mixed driving condition. Now, this car has spent 22 kilowatt hours to drive 100 kilometers, and my next test is going to be a charging test. And I'm always testing how much time do I actually have to sit here in order for it to charge another 200 kilometers or 120 miles, which was a good second stretch. And it spent 22 kilowatt hours doing the first 100 kilometers. So if I'm going to do 200, I'm going to have to recharge 44.2 kilowatt hours. Let's see how long time it'll take the Volvo to do that. We're here at the Thunder charging station. I'm sorry if there's quite a lot of noise around here. There's some trucks driving around me. That's what you get out in real life. Supposedly the car can charge up to 200 kilowatts, but this charger can do 360. So the limit will always be on the part of the car. These Thunder charging systems are everywhere in Spain, and you can charge them using the Thunder app. But one thing that's really nice, especially if you're a tourist in Spain, is that you can just use a regular good old-fashioned credit card, so you don't need to register or do anything. However, I do have the app, so I'll charge up to 44.2 kilowatt hours of energy and see how long time that takes. We plugged in and immediately it jumps up to 207 kilowatts of charging power. That's more than what it officially can do, so 2 kilowatt more. That's pretty good. And we've already charged 4 kilowatt hours in about a minute. This won't take long. Now the interesting thing here is not only to see how fast it charges, it's also to check out the charging curve. If this high-speed charging tapers off pretty quickly, then we're going to be here for longer. Let's see how it goes. We're still at 200 kilowatts. 15% charge now. Okay, so let's check out what information we have inside the car here. So up on screen, I get basic information about charging speed and how much charging time I have left until I get to 100. I can even actually set the charging limit here on screen, and it'll adjust here on the screen as well. However, the most important bit is actually what I see here. If I have a route planned, it's going to tell me how much energy do I need to recharge at this current station before I can continue my trip, which is great. So many cars get this wrong and so few cars do this right. Because here it says I need only to charge up to 69% in order to continue my journey, which is really important because from 69, well, basically 70 to say, for example, 100%, which the inexperienced EV driver might want to charge up to, it'll take as long as it does to charge it up to 70%. The higher percentage of battery charge you have, the slower it's going to charge. So knowing how much you have to as a minimum charge to before you can continue your trip is absolutely fantastic for minimizing the time spent at charging stations. The Thunder charging stations are some of the best in Spain. They're fast, they're reliable, and they're all over Spain. I mean, you can find more than 100 of these stations when you travel to Spain. And reliability, I think, is key, because whenever you're traveling with an EV, the last thing you want is to be stuck somewhere or have a complicated system, don't know how it works, don't know how to charge. Here you can pay by all sorts of different ways. You can use your RFID, you can use your credit card, and you can use your app if that's what you want. You can even associate your car with the Thunder charging network and just use plug and charge. How good is that? So Thunder is one of my preferred partners for charging, and I thank them very much for collaborating with me on making these videos. If you come to Spain for holidays or just traveling through, try them out. We've now been charging for 15 minutes and we're already above 50%. We're still charging at more than 130 kilowatts. All right, we made it 44.2 kilowatt hours charged in just 17 minutes and 30 seconds. That's not bad. So any charge will have a charging curve associated with it. And this one started out at 207 and now at about, let me just check, because I can do that on the Thunder app. I can see that at 68% charge, we are now charging at 101 kilowatts. So about half. Back in the car, we can see that with 69%, we could actually continue our trip. And this is key because from now and until 70, 80, 90, 100%, the charging is going to taper off and become slower and slower. So knowing that we can actually safely continue our trip now will save us a lot of time later on. Inside the Volvo EC40, we have two screens, one in the middle for doing stuff and one behind the screen for getting information out of. And it's really good for that. It's big and it's clear, the information. It's very easy to see. I like that you get the map up on there when you've got the GPS going somewhere. That's a really good system. In the middle here, it's a vertical screen. It's relatively small for today's standard, and it's sitting inside this frame. So it doesn't look the most modern of screens. Beneath it, we got some sound controls here, and apparently two buttons for options that weren't included in this particular version. Who knows what they do. Down there we got USB-C, two of them, and a standard 12-volt charging system as well. This here is for data. So if you want to use Apple CarPlay, you have to plug in your phone there. It won't do it wirelessly. We've got a big chunky steering wheel, It's heated, so are the seats, by the way. And the seats are firm but comfortable, which is something I do enjoy in a car like this, especially when it's like a sporty feel and you want to make sure that you're sitting well in place. But I have done 4 to 5 hours driving in this car and no problem whatsoever. In the center console, there's space for some stuff down here. I've got a mobile phone charger, and I've got this space here. I can open, there's sort of a vertical space here. No idea what that's for, and I've been trying to figure it out. No idea. If you know, put a comment down below and let me know. Plenty of space down here in the middle as well. And I've even got this here thing that I can take out and I don't know, maybe it's for garbage. I got 2 cup holders, gear shifter. I mean, even though it's hollow, it's kind of chunky feeling, so that's nice. What I don't have in here is a start and stop button. The car, when I'm sitting in it and I just push on the brakes and then I put it in gear and then I'm ready to go. I don't need to do anything else. And when I finish, I just put it in park. I can just open the door and leave and the car will turn itself off. Good. We don't need a start and stop button because there's no engine to start and stop. I've got this nice glass roof. It runs the whole length of the car. There's no cross beam in the middle. It's really nice. I've got extra headroom, and rear seat passenger will appreciate the openness of it as well. No heat coming through it at all, and I am in Spain, so I know what I'm talking about. Glove box and some nicely designed moon landscapey thing here on the top. I don't know, craters or something. I've got it on the doors as well, and by the way, it lights up on the doors at night. It's quite bright, which is good for getting in and out of the car, and if the doors open, it's easy to see if a bicycle should come close by and, you know, not drive into the car, which is an advantage. On the left-hand side of the steering wheel, I've got buttons for driver assistance feature, and on the right, I've got contextual buttons, or mostly they're just used for sound and skipping songs up and down. So not an overload of button, but just the right amount that I need. I've also got, by the way, 2 buttons here for memorizing seating positions. So if 2 people regularly drive this car, just switch between the profiles there. So a nice overall layout. It's kind of a solid, standard, classical car feel. You know, it's not like a modern spaceship in here. If you're a Volvo buyer, you probably will appreciate this little bit of conservative layout and usage of the car. I mean, it's really easy. You get into it and you sort of know where everything is. That's a nice layout. On the back seat of the C40, I've got plenty of legroom. The front seat here is adjusted to my driving position, and I'm 1.90 m, which is the same as 6'4". So it's quite far back, but still I fit behind myself. I can put my feet beneath the seat, so I'm quite comfortable. However, my head is touching the roof here, and the sloping roof line here does take away quite a bit of my headspace here. Maybe they should have prolonged this glass roof just a little bit further back, and that way I would have had more space and would have been more comfortable here. But I guess I can scoot down a bit and then I can travel here. Not a big problem, but just be aware of it if you've got a kid that's abnormally tall like me. In the middle, you've got a transmission tunnel. So it's something that this has inherited from its combustion engine brother, meaning that if you're 5 people, the person in the middle here will have to sit with his or her feet on both sides of the transmission tunnel in the middle, and it's a little bit more complex to move across, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I can put this down, and I've got 2 cup holders there. I can also put this bit down here if I want to pass my skis or my IKEA furniture through the back there. I've got a USB-C charging port. I've got 2 of them, in fact, down there. And that's about it. It's pretty average, normal, solid space back here. Seats are comfortable. I could travel back here. It's a good space, but I would have enjoyed a little bit more headroom. All right, let's check out the trunk. So it is electronic. I can open it with a button here, or I can just put my foot under there and it's gonna open up. So here we have a trunk of 420 liters, which is the same as 14.8 cubic feet, which is not bad for a car this size. Actually, it's only 4.50 meters. Take that into account. Aside from that, it's clever enough to have this thing here, so I can do like that. If you got your shopping bags up there, they're not going to be tumbling around. Aside from that, we've got some extra space under the floor. I've got space enough for my cables, my camera equipment. Really good. But does it have a frunk? Because this car is based on the combustion engine version as well. So let's see. In order to open it up, we have to go inside. We have to pull this lever here. And then we go into the front where there's a little thing to push up there. And lo and behold, we have a plastic cover. Getting excited for this. And indeed, Yeehaw! We have another 31 liters up here. This is about the size as an overhead compartment suitcase. Maybe a little bit smaller, but hey, not bad at all. So even though this car is a multi-platform, they've been good enough to fit in a Frunk. Good on you, Volvo. First thing to do is to test 0 to 100 acceleration, or 0 to 62 for those of you that count in miles. I'm using a Draggy. This is a high precision GPS. It connects to your phone, and just to show you, it'll even detect the acceleration, the speed at which I'm moving the device inside the car here. Pretty cool. Now this is magnetic, so I'll just put it on top of the car. There's only one driving mode, so it's just a matter of putting the wheels straight and jumping down on the accelerator. I've got 90% battery right now. It's a nice sunny day. We should get a good result. By the way, I am, of course, in a closed circuit, so there will be no traffic around here. Let's do this. Oh, official time, 4.7 seconds to 100. Let's see if we can get there or even beat it. I'm gonna do a few runs, not just do it once. I'm gonna do a few back and forth. There's a bit of wind right now, so that might affect the result. Let's see. Okay, let's go. Head back and let's do it. Oh, it sure kicks at the beginning. I feel my face being pulled back, and that's 100. No drama, just pure brute force. Okay, let's check out the numbers. Okay, I've done it 3 times now, and this here is my best results. 4.55 seconds, faster than the official 4.7 time. Good job, Volvo. So I think this is the first time I'm in a car that does not have different drive modes. You can't set it to relax or eco or sport or normal or anything like that. All you can do is you can go into the software here and you can say driving off-road mode. That's it. Anything else is just the way the car wants to do it. Not quite though. I can change if I want to do one pedal driving. So I've just put it on and let me show you what it does. So I'm driving, and if I'm letting go of the accelerator, I'm doing 45 kilometers now, and I let go, it slows down quite a lot, quite heavily, regenerates quite aggressively, and comes to a full stop. This is excellent. This is the way all electric cars should be set up, or should at least be able to be set up. This means that I can drive in city without using the braking pedal. In fact, I don't have to brake ever unless something happens that surprises me. It's good. It's just the way I want it. This means that I can recover more energy into the battery, but it also means it's more relaxing for driving. I have to shift my foot all the time to the brake, especially if I'm in stop and go traffic. This is really a big benefit. It is funny though that you're in a sporty car with 408 horsepower, and you can't set it to relax if you're sort of the chill driver. You just gotta take the full brunt of the 408 horsepower. But hey, I like it that way. That's fine. It also has automatic one pedal driving, which will take into account circumstances around you and only actually have one pedal driving on when you're supposed to stop. So now I've let go of the accelerator and I'm coming up to a roundabout. So let's see if it slows down. It does not. So it does it depending on traffic, but not always, depending on what's around you. Yeah, I definitely just prefer to keep this on, and that's it. If I put it on off, it's completely off. It's just like you let go of the accelerator and it just keeps cruising as if it was a normal automatic combustion engine car. Nope. Put it on one pedal driving. It'll do tough regeneration. That's the way it should be. So I really like how this car is set up. 408 horsepower, 4-wheel traction. But here's the surprise. Volvo even lets you have a little bit of fun with it. So if you're accelerating out of a curve, it'll lose just a bit of traction. Enough for you to have fun with it, but not to lose control of it. Brilliant. Just the way it should be. Also, the brakes, check this out. Oh! Did you see how it hugged me? Man, it stops on a dime. Yeah. This car is a driver's car, which is really surprising to me. It's not like a boring Scandinavian, sensible thing. Yes, if you get the 408 horsepower twin motor version, you can have fun in it. In fact, in the EC40, the new version of this car, there's this one, but with a software tweak. They call it the Performance. It's got another, I think 30 horsepower more, and it's just a little bit more aggressive. But honestly, this car, marvelous. It drives great, fantastic. So yeah, it's a driver's car. Who'd imagined an electric Volvo being a driver's car? The Volvo C40 Recharge in this particular version has a level 2 ADAS system, which means that it'll keep me in my lane, it'll turn when there's a curve coming up, and it will keep distance and speed so that I don't drive into things in front of me, which is a nice thing to have. There are also some additional safety features, like there's blind spot warnings, it'll automatically emergency brake if it thinks I'm backing into things, etc. There are no lane changes. I have to do that manually. It also does not adjust to the road speed limit in any way. I have to do that manually. It's all controlled via these buttons I have here on my left-hand side of the steering wheel, and it's very easy to use, very straightforward. They're big, chunky buttons, real buttons there. I know what all of them do after looking at them for 2 seconds, which is good. So it's a nice interface and it's quite solid. I mean, it does keep it well in my lane, and it doesn't drift off or go out or ping pong or anything like that, as we've seen in some other cars. So I do like the system. It's not the most feature rich, but it is quite solid. I guess that's an allegory for this entire car, right? It's maybe not the most feature rich, but it is quite solid. I'm going to turn on the driver assistance features here, which is lane keep and adaptive cruise control. And I'm on a secondary road. This is not a highway. I've put it on now, and I've set to the maximum allowed speed here, which is 90. I have a car in front of me, so we're doing more 80-ish kilometers. There's a curve, and well, it did the curve, did it okay, but it then ping-ponged to the other side. I'm keeping my hands on the steering wheels, I'm keeping control, but it's the car doing everything, okay? This system is not, oh, here we go, come on. It needs to detect me, by the way. I can't just do like that. I do have to turn it a little bit. So here comes a curve, and it's recommended at 60, and see what happens is that the car will just drift out of the curve. So if the curve is too sharp, it won't alert me or do anything. It'll just literally drift out of the curve. So in my opinion, this is not a system you should be using on secondary roads like this, because honestly, it will do something that it's not supposed to do, and it will not be able to follow the road as closely as it should. It works well on highways, but not too well on secondary roads. This car uses the Android Automotive system, which is brilliant, and every car should be using that, to be honest. I've got Google Maps there, which helps find anything I want to find. It's got the Google Voice Assistant built into it, so I can just go, okay, Google, find me a restaurant nearby.
Okay, there's Restaurante Puerta de Guadalajara 9 kilometers away. Want to navigate there?
Not right now. Okay, Google, what's the weather gonna be like tomorrow?
Tomorrow in Valdiviruelo, it'll be sunny, with a high of 20 and a low of 3.
We're still in April. Okay, Google, let's go to Paris in France.
Navigating to Paris.
So it's brilliant. It understands me well. It does it really quickly. I don't have to cut out uncomfortable silences when I'm going to edit this video. As soon as I just talk, it's just going to put it up on screen and just do whatever I ask it to do. The only thing I can't do are some vehicle-specific controls, like, okay, Google, roll down the windows.
Sorry, I can't adjust the windows of your car.
Yeah, you can do that in some other cars, but apparently not in this one. So it's basically just an Android phone inside your car, and it's great because you can install additional apps if it doesn't do something you want it to do. So say, for example, I can install Amazon Prime Video. I can install additional GPS systems if I want to use them for finding more chargers. I can do all sorts of stuff, and it's really easy to do. I've even got access to a web browser, so I can browse the internet from my main screen here. It's nice to use the system, but the screen is a little bit too small for it, which is even more apparent when I go into the camera view. So I've got a 360 camera view, which is like having a camera on top of your car. And this is probably the best view that I can get while parking. Because if I go and look at, say, for example, the rear parking, I only get half the screen, and it's already a small screen, so it's not too much visibility available to me there. It's even worse if I go and do a left or a right side. I want to check if there's a column there next to me so I don't park on top of it. I only get like this little window here, which is like super small. Why not use the whole screen for that? We've already got a small screen. Don't chop it out even further. Steering wheel is heated, seats are heated, good. Steering wheel is actually heated so much that if I put it on maximum heating, I can hardly hold on to it. The climate is on auto, but even though it's on auto, I still have to set the speed of the ventilation. So it's not really auto, it's sort of half auto, half manual, which is the only complaint I have about that. Other than that, it's easy to use and it's just fine. So overall, it's a great system. It's simple to use. It does all the basic stuff that I needed to do. It's not the most advanced, technologically integrated car, but it's really good and solid. And I think that's a theme about this Volvo. Oh, okay, I can play basketball. See how well it works. Yay. Oh. and I get adverts. All right. So, yeah. So I can play video games and I can watch adverts for TikTok. Can I install TikTok? Okay. So here's a funny thing. It put me up an advert for TikTok, but this device isn't compatible with TikTok. So, yeah, it can either be out of security because Volvo doesn't allow you to install all the apps on the Play Store, only the ones that they vetted themselves. Charging is controlled well within this. I can set maximum charge I want to get to, the amps I want to charge at, which is good if I have a limited power at home, or I can set a timer for when I want it to start and stop charging. This is just what I need when I want to charge my electric car. It's perfect.
All right, let's go on with the final scoring then. We have 8 categories, each with its own weight, resulting in a final score between 0 and 100. Range and efficiency. Although the car isn't optimized for long trips, with a relatively low efficiency of 22.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, it manages to reach a total of 358 kilometers in the test. You can travel comfortably with this car, earning it 6 points in range and efficiency. Charging. The initial charging speed was quite high, reaching 207 kilowatts. However, the low efficiency means that even so, it took 17.5 minutes to charge 44.2 kilowatt hours, which gives us about 200 kilometers of range. Additionally, the software works well, allowing you to adjust the charging speed, plan routes, schedule charging, and many other things. The only thing missing would be some options for bidirectional charging. It gets 7.5 points in the charging category. Performance and handling. Well, clearly we're reviewing the twin-motor version, so this is important. I should mention that the new EC40 has a version with a little bit more performance, but regarding the current car, it accelerates from 0 to 100 in 4.55 seconds and drives really well. It has one pedal driving and both curves and calm city driving are enjoyable. It's important to highlight that this is the first time I've tested an electric car without any additional driving modes, so if your preferences are different from mine, you might not enjoy it as much, but I did enjoy it and I give it 8 points for performance and handling. Interior and quality. The Volvo has good interior space, although the rear seats are somewhat tight in height, and the central transmission tunnel makes it more of a 4-seater than an actual 5-seater. The 419 liters trunk is more than adequate for the category, and I'm glad it has a front trunk or Frunk as well, even though it is small. The materials and interior design are solid, but not particularly decorative or modern. Your dad will be comfortable with this car, but your kid might want something a bit more modern. I give it 5 points for interior and quality. The exterior line is pleasant, sporty and modern without being extravagant. It's got 5 doors and a hand-free trunk opening. It's practical as well as pretty. It scores 8 points in exterior and design. Technology. There are parts of the Volvo C40 recharges technology that I really love, especially the operating system provided by Google, which offers excellent voice recognition and connectivity. However, the center screen is small and somewhat limited in access, affecting the visibility of the 360 cameras. The car includes CarPlay and Android Auto, although Apple CarPlay is only wired. In technology, it scores 5 points, reflecting a good and correct proposition, but without frills. The driver assistance features works well and are reliable, but are quite limited in their functionality. Therefore, we give it 4 points. Price. Considering we're reviewing the twin-motor version with over 400 horsepower, the comparison should be with other all-wheel drive SUVs over 400 horsepower and a minimum size of 4 meters 40. In that case, the Volvo cost €60,544, With these parameters, we will find only two that are more economical. That being the smart Brabus 3 for $51,000 and the ubiquitous Tesla Model 3 dual motor for $51,990. The Volvo is faster than the Tesla and has more range than the Smart. It occupies a market position with little competition. Comparable models like the Hyundai Ioniq 5N cost around $80,000, therefore the Volvo scores 6 points in the price category. Adding everything up and taking into account the weight of each category, we arrive at a final score of 62 points out of 100. For those seeking high performance and a car with perhaps more of a classic than an avant-garde style from a brand that historically shows us products of good quality and with a high level of safety, it would certainly be a highly recommended car. If you want to compare this car with others that have also passed the Electro Exam, you can do so on our website. You'll find the link below in the description.
So there are plenty of good reasons to choose the Volvo C40 Recharge, or as you might know it, the EC40, depending a bit upon your market. The price point, the sportiness, the driving experience, and of course, as any car you'd expect from this brand, it's just very, very solid. If you've reached this far in the video, I'd really appreciate a subscribe or at least a like, and we will soon come back with many other reviews of many other interesting electric vehicles. So leave a comment down below. I do enjoy them, especially when they're kind. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Lars and you've been watching Totally Electric.